everyone, it's good to see everyone again. My name is Sergis and we're going to talk about store management today. There's one thing we need to talk about when it comes to store management. A lot of times when customer likes to come to your store, it isn't just because you have good service. Furthermore, they also like the entire management and design of the shop. Regarding store management, there will be 4 parts altogether that we're going to learn today. First, you'll learn how to plan your business items. Second of all, you will learn how to investigate the business circle and set up a target clientele. Thirdly, you will learn how to plan and calculate the money you will need to open a shop. Fourth of all, you'll learn how to set up the people structure, where you'll put all your people. Before we start this lesson, I would like to tell you a Chinese story. Once upon a time, many people go to the temple. Since they see there are so many people in the temple, a boss told his people, just try to go and sell something there. It shouldn't be that hard to sell anything, isn't it? However, what this boss is selling, go to the temple. Since they see there are so many people in the temple, a boss told his people, just try to go and sell something there. It shouldn't be that hard to sell anything, isn't it? However, what this boss is selling are combs. But he looked around, it doesn't seem like there are a lot of elderly monks. So he thought, maybe he can only sell 1 or 2. He became very pessimistic. He thinks maybe there's not a lot he can sell. So he went there. So finally, after a lot of persuasion, he sold 2 or 3 combs. When he went back, he told his boss, this is all I can sell. Maybe I can go to another temple and sell some more at a different temple. So they asked the boss to say, maybe you can find another person to sell it. The second person, when he went to go look for the older monk, he says, Mr. Monk, before, when I used to come here, I used to really like your temple. I heard a lot of people like to come and visit your temple and pray. When they're praying, they would like to bring something back. I am wondering if I can engrave something on the comb, maybe some scripture or something, and we can put it in front of the Buddha, and the Buddha will give it some blessing, and then with a little bit of chanting, put it there, and then you can maybe try to sell it. The monk says, oh, that sounds like a pretty good idea. So originally, the comb is only selling to the monk for $1 each. But he put 100 of them, and then after 3 days, they chant to it. After they chant, they can sell it for $100 each. All of a sudden, they were sold out straight away. Originally, the first salesperson made $3 selling 3 of them. The second person, after 3 days, sold it for $10,000. It's a difference of $3 and $10,000. So what is the biggest difference? Because these 2 people, they didn't really try to capture where their market is. They don't know where their clientele is. Of course, if the first salesperson went there, he said, hey, Mr. Monk, can you please try to brush it? And then I'll sell it to you and say, this has been blessed by the older monk. So maybe he can try to sell it for $10,000 each. But the first salesperson didn't do that. So therefore, he asked the monk to try to use it on his own, and he only sell it for $1 each. The second salesperson asked the monk to see if they can put it in front of the Buddha, chant to it for 3 days, and then he can make $10,000. And in another 3 days, they can sell another 100, and then with this, within a month, they can make tens of thousands of dollars in a month. So the story told us, if you are going to open a shop, if you're going to start a business, no matter what you're doing, you need to know where your clients are. So the first thing is you need to know where is your placement once you open the shop. For instance, for the comb for instance, the comb is used for brushing hair. We all understand that, but where are your clients? When you don't know where your clients are, ask yourself first, where is your store or where is your shop? You can say, well, my shop is right here. But what does your shop actually do? What exactly do you do in your shop? Where is it located? So I would like you to think about your shop and how you would like to market it. Think about where you would like to place your shop. Of course, we can say that your store is in a specific circle of business. So we'll talk about the circle of business afterwards. This is very important because it is based on what your location is, what is the environment around your shop, and also who your competitors are. And then next, who are some shops that you can work with and cooperate with? Next, who are the people who live next to your shop? Who are the residents? And then after that, what are some of the resources that you can use? What are your resources? And then next, what are the kind of services you provide? What service do you provide? What type? And how much are you going to charge for your service? What type of charge is there going to be? So these are the questions you have to ask yourself first, so you know exactly where you stand. You need to understand that first and foremost. Once you know that, then you can more practically know what kind of service can you provide. In the beginning, we talked about the circle of business. What is a circle of business? The circle of business is basically the clientele of your shop. Where are your customers coming from? Geographically speaking, it means when you're located here, for the people around, and geographically speaking, what is it like geographically? Basically, it's how far they are willing and able to purchase or use the items in the shop. And they can come here and use the product or the service. It's a distance that they can come. So they don't have to come here very specifically. They can come here very easily because they want to come here. So basically, it is some hidden customers. It's customers that can walk by anytime and they can come in any day. So therefore, if they buy a product or a service, as long as there's more than 0, they can pass by any time. They can come by any time. They don't have to spend a lot of time and effort to come here. This is your circle of business. Of course, if you use internet to do more promotion and they are more than willing to come here in person, you can do that as well. Later on, we will talk a lot about the promotion that you can do to attract people to come here. Those are all special occurrences, but we're going to talk about something that is organic, something that they will come here naturally. This is your business circle. But aside from that, of course, there are a lot of things that we can do on the internet, especially at times like this. There are different ways they can come. We'll talk about it slowly after this. So, once you find a shop, it's not an easy thing to do. It'll take us a little bit of time to find the shop. So once we find the shop, then we have to talk about who your competitors are. Your competitors. So sometimes your competitors are really competitors. Sometimes your competitors are not necessarily your competitors. There could be someone or something that help you become more successful. Because without competitors, how can people know how good you are? Sometimes, once your business starts, it is because of your competitor that shows how good you are because you're not that great. So sometimes, without the existence of your competitors to make a difference, to make a comparison, they couldn't tell how good you are in all reality. And plus, they may be providing completely different service than what you are. So even though you're both running a same business, for instance, beauty salon, it is still a way for you to people to see why you're so different. So when you're trying to start a business, even though if you find a business that's similar to what you want to run, there are a lot of things we should compare. So next, I would like you to make sure you do the following investigation. write it down. Write these investigations down, because no matter you do it on your own, or you ask your friend to do it, or you ask your associate, or even like a marketing investor consultant to go do the investigation, these are the information you need to get. For instance, you need to know what kind of business they're doing. What do we mean by what kind of business? For instance, what does their sign say on the outside? Are they doing it the same way for like as you are? Is it towards your face, to your hair, towards your hand, towards your skin, towards your body? What are they actually doing? This is something you need to know, because these competitors, how strong or how weak they are, directly impact how much business they're doing. So you need to know that. Also, you need to know how many competitors are around. So you need to know how many of similar type of shops here are around you, and you need to know how big they are, how much business they hold within the market. Perhaps maybe 4 or even 10 of them only have a very small share of the market. Only one of them have a very large share of the market. Maybe the rest of them doesn't really matter. Only one of them is really big. Or even maybe all these shops all were sold or bought by a different shop out there. So one thing that's very important, you need to know their pricing strategy. For instance, some of them, they're trying to do a spa. In Taiwan, a lot of them are called spas. With this type, with the same name, they will have a different type of service. Also, some of them are called rock spa. They'll use a lot of black rocks, and they'll make a basic, and they'll warm it up, and you can lay on top of it. So that is called a rock bath in a sense. Some of them will say how much they will charge per hour, and the pricing are all different in different shops. So you need to know how much they charge for everything per shop. With a similar service, some of them, they'll put you in a specific cabin or a specific tool for it. Some of them, they'll just put it wherever. So you also need to know how they're using it. Spend a little bit of money, invest a little bit to know what they're doing, to find out exactly what they're doing and what their service is like. So you need to know what they're selling and what their pricing is, and also what kind of combination they're selling for their merchandise. For instance, because if you have one and the other one, you're sacrificing one of the price to make the other one make money. So you need to know what kind of combination they're making and how much it costs. And for all their services, what is their main service? What is their most important merchandise? Because possibly for a lot of them, the other services, they're losing money on them. Oh, wow, this is cheap, that is cheap. And once you go in, they will try to tell you, you have to buy this one. So with all the other cheap doorbusters are actually trying to get you to buy your main product. This main product that's a little bit more expensive, but this is their main product. So you need to know what is their main product aside from all the combinations they provide. This is something that you need to understand from your competitors. Also, you need to know what their clientele is like, the people who are coming to spend money there. So when you go into their shop, who are the people who are able to afford these? Are they white collar? Are they everyday normal people? Are they housewives? Or maybe they're even more for people who are in more blue collar. Or even maybe they just go there go get their fingernails files or their eyebrows trimmed, or they only do smaller amounts of money. So if their clienteles are not the ones you want, then don't worry about it. Because some of the clienteles that are going to be very time-consuming, very high for your cost, and very low profit, and if you have to spend a lot of time on it, you can give it up and let someone else do it. This is not very important to you, so you don't need to do it. So this is where you can make your choice. Also, what kind of service are they providing? What is their service quality? If their service quality isn't great, then you don't have to worry about it because once your service quality is a little bit better, then you will obviously win out. Also, what kind of promotion do they have? For instance, if they have a promotion, is it an actual promotion or is it actually a fake promotion? Some promotions are like this. They're using something that's almost out of style or outdated. They'll sell it, and you know it, that's something cheap as soon as you see it. So you'll be like, oh, okay, that's nothing. Or for instance, sometimes they'll take something that's very valuable and put it on promotion. You'll wonder, maybe they have a large supplier that they're working with to make their costs lower, to make it cheaper for them. So now you want to find out, why does a big company give them this kind of pricing? Can you try to go and talk to the big company to see if they can provide the same pricing for you? You don't have to do the same promotion right now, but you can get the supply for it first and then use that promotion in later on. You don't have to do it right now, because if you do it right now, it wouldn't be anything special. But someday, when the other place or the competitor is not doing the promotion anymore, you can throw it out and shake up the market a little bit. That is what you need to do. Also, what is the atmosphere like in the shop? For instance, in the competitor, if no one seems happy, everyone seems kind of unhappy, or when you go there, everyone seems extra happy, and the atmosphere is different. If you feel the atmosphere is good over there, then you want to learn. Because once the atmosphere is good and everyone's happy, it'll make everyone feel like they're at home. So this is something that we have to learn from them. Learn from our competitor is a key to growing for ourselves. This is nothing to be ashamed of, or we shouldn't think that it's not worth learning. We should respect them. So we need to know what amount of the market our competitors own, and then we can try to make a strategy on how we're going to build our business circle. So if there is no competitors around or anything like that, we need to look into our store. We need to establish something with our customers. We need to maintain our image. We need to establish the value of our merchandise, and we always need to have a sense of danger or risk, because we have to think about something. We have to be very careful and maintain our image. So if there is actually any competition that comes up, we won't panic and lose our cool. So for instance, all of a sudden we have a competitor. We need to learn about what their advantage and their disadvantages straight away. Do you remember? For our first class, that's the first thing we talked about. We need to know about our advantage and our disadvantage. We need to know where our opportunity is and where our risk is. Also, once we know there's a new competitor, we need to keep our advantage and disadvantages the same, but the opportunity appears and the risk also appears. So how do we face it under these circumstances? Under this, we need to know what their idea of the shop is. So we need to figure out how many customers have. Also, we need to try to figure out how much sales they're making, how much revenue they're generating. Also, you need to know the structure of their merchandise. So, do you notice that? We're trying to figure out what their merchandise structure is. In the same way, they will try to figure out what our merchandise structure is as well. So we need to be extra careful with our merchandise structure. How do we make it special? How do we make it unique? We'll talk about how to arrange it later on. Also, we need to know what their clientele is made of, what their target audience is. Once we know that, we still need to know how much the rent is, for instance. So, for instance, how much do they cost? How much did it cost them to have a shop this size? We need to know about how much their cost is and how much they can spend. So if you know how much they're able to spend, you can tell how big they can make their business to become. You'll be able to know what their base is like. Once we know all this, then we can decide what our next step is, how we get to face them. With that, now that we've talked about our competitors, then we need to know if there's anyone that we can work with, we can cooperate with. What are stores that we can cooperate with be like? Actually, there will be quite a few of them. It could be someone who's upstream or downstream for you. They're actually going to be something different, but also something that is in the service industry. It'll be someone in the service industry, but on a different idea. They're not in the beauty industry, but they are also similar. They're also in the service industry. What do we mean by that? Because we're in the service industry and they're also in the service industry, for instance, they could be a clothing shop, or maybe they could be selling different kind of foods or something. With that, well, since we're both trying to service our customers, therefore, we know how to be nice to the customers. If we know how to be nice to the customers, we will be able to have a good attitude toward our customers. We're trying to be very nice to them. So why would they be someone we would be willing to cooperate with? Because we're used to being nice to the customers. As long as there's something good, we'll share it with our clients. Today, if we have a good promotion going on, we can maybe tell our cooperating partner, hey, this is a coupon. You can give it to your customers and you can tell them they can come to our shop and pamper themselves. Maybe they'll be very happy to help us out. Or we can tell the people who are working in their shops, they can come here and try our services. If you like our service, then maybe you can recommend it to your customers. Once they like it, they'll be more than happy to recommend customers to you. So these are some different ways that you can try to work with other shops. For instance, give them an experience, give them a taste of what you're providing. So at times like this, when we're trying to establish a relationship with them, we can cooperate with them. They can be upstream or downstream for them. Maybe we'll buy something from them. Maybe we'll sell something to them. Maybe they'll buy something from us. But this is something that we work together with. It could be cooperative or something related to us. Maybe we'll, for instance, in beauty, we can buy towel from them. Or, for instance, we'll buy ingredients from them. And then, or even they're just our neighbor or across the street from us. They're really good neighbors. And we'll ask them to maybe watch our shop for us or whatnot. This is how you become friendly with people or shops around you. Or if it's a residential area, well, since you see all the people who are around all the time, you say hi to them on a regular basis. Once you start saying hi to them, you can become friends with them. People like that, over time, you'll ask them to come in. Why don't we have a chat? Or why don't you come into our shop and try us out? This is a very good way. Through promotion, we'll be able to get more clientele as well. And they will also, through word of mouth, bring more people in. So starting from someone who's a complete stranger to become someone that's willing to walk in, this is the first step for us to establish a relationship. So what are some of the resources we can use? These resources could be manpower. For instance, we're trying to have a community activity, or we try and join into some kind of community activity. Or sometimes it could be money. For instance, if they're having an activity or some sort of charity going on, this is something we can use monetary resources, or we can try to get their customer resources. For instance, if we have a small activity or promotion going on, if you can try some people over, we'll give you a free balloon or something. We can try to get other people to come in. Or you can even try to have the same amount of people, for instance, have a charity beauty activity, beauty event, or something that will help people who are weaker, for instance, for children, for elderly people. These are all different activities that you can share with the community. So through this, not only are you trying to become a better part of the business circle, you're also combining yourself with the community much better. Through this, slowly but surely, we change our competitors. Then we can find and funnel down what are the service type we can do. Through this service type, we'll start finding how much we're going to charge them, how our pricing strategy is going to be. But there's always an exception. Sometimes there's an exception. Even though you're in suburbs, or even if you're in a very far out area, or you're in the urban area, you can still jump out of the stereotype of how much you should price. For instance, you're in a very far out suburban area, and there's not a lot of business circle. We don't really have friends around. We don't really have shops that can help us out. We're independently in the suburbs. But because I have a great swimming pool, or for instance, I have a very quiet location, I have a car park or a parking lot. And then through internet promotion or marketing strategy, a lot of people know that there's a place like this. It's very quiet, and I don't have to hear any of the noises outside. There's no disturbance, none whatsoever. I can come here, therefore I can come here and enjoy something that's out of the city, that I can feel relaxed. And I can enjoy my beauty routine. This is a very good way to promote yourself. Or for instance, if you go to a very far out suburb, maybe they're willing to spend an extra amount of money to enjoy this beauty routine. It could be under another way of marketing. So when we're talking about this, we're just trying to tell you that have a basic idea of what your pricing is supposed to be, but there are always exceptions as well. So when we try to find out what it is, we start from the basic. But aside from the basics, we can also find a different way of pricing. You need to know who your clients are first, because the clients are the people who are paying you. They're the one who are getting the bill. With that being said, you need to make sure who is willing to spend money on you. Therefore, if we need to know where they come from, then we need to figure out where your location is to think about where they have come from. We will go and investigate the business circle, and we'll start finding it from where you are. Go out 500 meters and then go out 1,000 meters. When you're outwards 500 meters, this is your main business circle. Outside about 1,000 meters as a circle, this is your secondary business circle. In our reality, your main business circle, usually it's about 50% to 75% of your customers will come from your main business circle. And then about 25% come from your secondary business circle. And the rest of them, they're coming from the edge. They're coming from the outside. They come from somewhere further out. Sometimes it could be based on a news report or some type of TV report. They'll decide to come to try it out. Or maybe they happen to pass by on a specific day. Or maybe they hear something nice, word of mouth from someone else. So at this point, we need to do a little bit extra training or a little bit extra promotion. When we're investigating our business circle, we need to make sure if we're in a business area, or we're in an office area, or we're in a residential area, or mixed area, a shopping area, or even a hospital area. And we need to describe who are the people that pass in front of our store every day. What do they look like? When we're investigating this, of course, a lot of times we do that before or right when you're opening the shop, or even before you open the shop. Before you're sure that you're going to open a shop, what is your merchandise? What is your service? You need to plan this ahead of time. A lot of times, if you don't do this first, if you don't do this ahead of time, you're just like, okay, I'm going to open a shop. You may face some problems. For instance, why are people not walking into my shop? Or why do they only come here once and they never come back again? Because you have targeted the wrong clients. I'm going to analyze this really simply to you. I'm going to analyze to you what kind of people they are. If it's a business area close to your shop, with the business area, if it is more urban or city people, They're usually more like shopping, or they use shopping as a main entertainment. So if you put it here, they're here to go shopping. Are they really in the mood to do some beauty routine? You have to think about it. We'll hold on to the answer for now. We'll tell you the answer later. A regular community, a residential community. So when you have a community, most of your clients will be people who live in that community, people who live right around there. Office area, well, most of your clients will be people who work in the offices around here. You'll have more of a crowd during the daytime compared to nighttime. So for instance, at nighttime, you won't have a lot of people around. What about transportation area? For instance, MRT stations, train stations. At nighttime, well, they don't really have nighttime or daytime difference. But a lot of times they're changing transportation here. The amount of time the customer is willing to stop here is going to be a lot shorter because they're coming and going all the time. Also, there's going to be something similar to campus. For someone who's closer to campus, you'll have a majority of your customers being students or faculties. So during winter or summer vacation, you will have a lot less customer. Or for instance, something that's for fun, like an amusement park or landmarks. Usually around this place, it'll be mainly tourists. You won't have as steady of a people flow. Then there's night market. The night market, you'll have more people at night, and you'll have local people and tourists. In shopping malls, they may be a little bit further from the city center, but there will be people coming out of their way to come here and stay here for an extended period of time, and they'll be walking around the area. Their main idea for coming here is to go shopping and to eat out. They've come here and spend all day or half a day here. And a lot of times they'll bring their entire family out too. So some people will go shopping, some people will go eating, some people will have nothing to do. So you need to know this. So out of these different areas, which one is your? The urban area, the community area, the office area, the transportation, amusement park, campus, night market, or shopping mall? Out of these, which one is actually the type of area you're at? So we'll do a short analysis for all these. So for instance, if you're in the business area, the business area is more like a large business circle with a lot of people flow, or a lot of the flow of people. And there's all kinds of shops here. So in other words, there are going to be a lot of different occupations here. So their habit is going to be a little bit faster, more entertaining, a little bit more higher amount of impulse buy. And so pay attention, they will spend a little bit more money, but will they spend extra time around? It's possible. Because, for instance, if your entire family went out, some people went shopping, but some people would rather spend money on other things. Or some people have nowhere else to go, and they'll come to the beauty salon. So then we're talking about more campus area. If there's a college, middle school, or elementary school, closer to the campus area, you'll have more students. Their amount may not be so much. There'll be a higher percentage of buying things for school. Is it suitable for a beauty salon? Well, students are actually not a bad clientele because they will go on dates, for instance. So therefore, they will need a beauty salon too, but it may not be for the higher budget or higher priced beauty salons. Then when it comes to business area, what are the beauty salons like in that area? Well, since out around here there's a lot of business building, it has to be convenient. There's a lot of people eating out, and sometimes they're willing to spend a little bit more money. Well, some people ask me, well, will this be a necessity for a beauty salon here? Actually, it's a quite important for it to have them, especially a beauty salon that's hiding in an office building or on the first floor or around the corner. You actually need a beauty salon because a lot of times you have business meetings. Right before the business meeting, these business people sometimes may need a little bit of makeup or hair done. Well, before that, some people they'll rather go somewhere else. They'll say, okay, I don't care about the cost, but I'll give you 15 minutes to make sure that I look presentable. This is also something they need. The other kind is even more funny. These are the people who would like to lay here and relax during my lunch break for an hour or two, so I can relax within this 2 hours and make me look great after this 2 hour. Allow me to have some rest. And then I'll be in much better shape for my work in the afternoon. The third type of people, well, I don't want to think about anything. I just want to sleep. Because they may be upper management, or maybe they're just people who are trying to skip work. So they would like to come here and they would like to just fall asleep. Well, there are all kinds of people here. So within the business area, they're willing to spend a little bit more money, but they all have different needs. So the beauty salon is still a need. About the combination area, it's a little bit more special. Because there's people who are residential, there are also people who are business people in the area. There's housewives who would come here, and there's also regular business people who will come here. So it doesn't matter if it's business and residential or residential with school area mixed together. With a mixed area, they have multiple different kinds of people trying to spend their money here. So in this area, some teachers may only want to come here and just try to make me look pretty, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. Or I want you to make me look fabulous. It doesn't matter how much money I'm spending. You need to make me look elegant. So when you encounter an area like this, you need to be a little bit more flexible when you're trying to do something for this area. So over here, I would also like to remind you, when you go back and you want to go and pay attention to your competitor, why do I keep bringing this up? Well, for instance, I kept trying to remind you, continue to try to know exactly where you stand. Same idea. Where you stand is going to be moving all the time. It's consistently moving because before you're sure where you're standing, you may encounter a few micro adjustments. And these adjustments change something that's within your shop and you didn't know about it. You may lose your balance, you may lose your focus, and it makes you unaware that there's new changes to your business. So if you don't change your strategy, you can possibly lose your correct placement or the correct way of doing anything. Therefore, I would like you to know your competitors again. So you have to find out how far their shop is from your shop, what their services are, because now you're trying to confirm what your services are. So you have to compare what your services are, what their services are, what their products are, what are your current products, what is the differences between the two of you. Now that you've known the difference between your products, you have to compare. What are they better than you at? What are they better at? What are their advantages that is better than you? Now, their advantage means what do they have that you do not have yet at this moment? For instance, maybe they have a very, very good beautician. Her technique is better than really anyone you have right now. You couldn't really compare to that. That's a possibility. For now. Or maybe they have a very specific equipment that you don't have yet. And that's really not anything you can do about it. Or maybe they have a medical beauty equipment. For instance, I have consulted a client before. They have a very special equipment. They use something called Visha that only doctors use. The way they use it is like this. They will put the entire equipment on your head. Once you put your head on there, you can scan 16 different specialties on your skin. For instance, the UV light, ultrared. You can see where your spots and everything, and folds on your skin, and your age for your skin and everything. And that is a very expensive equipment. Therefore, his competitors, for now, no one can compare to him on this. This is their advantage. However, if his competitors buy the same equipment, then they are able to catch up to them. So this is their temporary advantage. In the future, this is not an advantage. It's going to be lasting forever. So you have to find out what their advantage over you is. You have to know what they are. You have to see if that is something that you'll never catch up. If it is people, how do we solve if it is a people problem? Can we make our people better? If it's equipment, is it necessary for us to buy the same equipment? If their advantage is their service, can we try to make our service better and catch up with them? Or if their advantage is only the price, do we really have to stoop that low? Do we really have to change that? Or maybe their advantage is maybe they have prettier ladies working there. Well, that's not a big deal. It's not something we have to compare with, is it? So we have to make sure if their advantage are real advantages or if they aren't. And then you have to see what advantage you have over them. This is going to be interesting. The advantage that you think are advantages, are they real advantages? In the same way, if the things I've said earlier, advantages-wise, maybe they're advantages, some of them, you may think they're not real advantages. Some of the advantages they have over you are not something that you're in a hurry to try to pass. However, the advantages that you think you have, are they real advantages? The reason I'm asking you this, I'm not trying to challenge you, but I am trying to make sure that your advantage are real advantages. If they are, great. Keep them. For instance, right now, through an internet class, you've learned a lot of Eastern techniques. Therefore, you are able to do and offer something different on the technique over someone else who's in your business, over your competitors. And they cannot catch up to you. Fantastic. This will be your advantage. You can be sure that this is your advantage. When it is your advantage, then you can proudly think you are able to win over them for a very long period of time. Because during this amount of time, there is no way for them to learn the same techniques. This is what you have over them. Okay. Next, I have one last question. So, about their clients. Who are their clients? For instance, if their clients are any special celebrities or superstars, then maybe, wow, good job on them. But if there's not anyone special when it comes to their clients, they're just everyday people like you and me, then we'll think, is there any chance for them to come to us instead? Is there any chance for them to come to our shop instead of theirs? When you're thinking this way, maybe we'll have a little bit of change in our hearts. Because if we can do that, then we'll try to make a difference on service, which is, once you have that thought, you know you have to do something different from them when it comes to services. This means they are your competitor. But whatever service they have will stop right there. Whatever they can't do will be something you will offer. Therefore, one day, when their client wants something more than what they can offer, they will come to you. Therefore, one of these days, their clients will turn into your clients. Under these circumstances, you will know that one day their clients will become your clients. And on that day, they won't be your competitors anymore. And they will be someone that you can learn from or even a partner. Therefore, this way, when you're working, it'll put you in a better mood. So please remember, when you run into a competitor, try to think, how far are they from you? What is their service? What is their products? What are their real advantages? Are they real? And what is your advantages? Is it something you're confident with? If you're confident with it, is their advantage something that you can win over? And will their clients one day become your clients? Therefore, with this, what we've mentioned earlier, will their clients become your clients? We'll try to think of it very clearly and very precisely. And so think about it. Who are your clients? Let's think about it very precisely. What do your clients look like? Who are you trying to service? What kind of people and what kind of clients are you going to try to serve? How old are your clients? Take a pen and write it on a piece of paper. Write it down. What is your clients going to be like? What is their possible age range? One of my beauty salon owners says her clientele is between 35 to 45 years old. Why 35 to 45? I asked. She said, well, even though the women's face or the skin gets worse starting at 25, but they don't start having money until they're at age 35. Well, sounds good, I said. And then I asked, but who are the people that spend the most money with your clients? And she said, well, from 45 to 60. And I asked, why not 45 to 60 for your target clientele? And they said, oh, well, they spend a lot of money, but their daughters spend even more money. So even though 45 to 60-year-olds spend the most money, they bring their daughters over. And their daughters are usually about 30 years old. So they're locking on daughters of rich clients to count on them coming to spend money. So they know very clearly their 60-some-year-old clients will spend a lot of money. But the 30-some-year-old client that the 60-year-olds bring over, they spend even more money because they're spending their parents' money. So she's explaining her clientele, her target client is 35 to 45 years old. After 45-year-old, they're spending their own money. So they know the people who are spending the most money are the 60-year-old, but the main people are the 30-some-year-old. So the 30-some-year-old, they're spending someone else's money, so they're even more willing to spend the money. So how old are your clients? What's the age range? For her, it's 35 to 45-year-old. What is your setting? What is their age range? What age range is a client that you're thinking of? Of course, like I said before, under 25-year-olds, they don't think they need any maintenance because their skin is great. After 25-year-olds, they think, well, their skin is starting to get a little bit worse. And after 30, they think they need a little bit more maintenance. Well, at 30-some-year-old, they start to have a little bit more money. And they start to do a little bit more maintenance. At age 40, they start to put more emphasis on it. So in your mind, who do you want to service? The next thing I would like to ask you is what their income level should be at. How much does their income level have to be for you to want to service? Or you want them to walk into your shop? What's their income level? Write it down. The client's income level. Okay. Next, I would like you to think about something. How long would you like to service them? The length of your service means every time they come in, would they pay for something that would take an hour, 2 hours? Of course, an hour or 2 hours is the basic. But this is something that you want them to stay here a little bit longer, or they can just come in and out, or maybe even extend it to 3 hours. Of course, this also ties into the kind of service you provide. If the service you provide does not include 2 or 3 hour options, that is not a problem you'll encounter. So how long do you want them to be serviced? An hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours? Next, how often do you want them to come to your shop? This is actually a very interesting question. Do you want them to come more frequently? What's the frequency you would like? Once per week? Once every 2 weeks? Or once every 3 weeks? Or even once per month even? Why do we have to talk about this? Well, a joke goes this way. The dentist, how do they charge you? The dentist is charging you based on when his kids needs tuition. If his kids need to pay tuition once every 2 weeks, he'll tell his patients to come to the dentist once every 2 weeks. So, in order to boost your income, you just tell the amount of time for your client to come back. Of course, that is a joke. But what I'm trying to say is, if you want to anticipate how often will your client come back, how soon will they come back? And this is a very special question. Because if, for instance, if I have a special lesson for once every 2 weeks or once every 3 weeks, would you like them to be able to accept these lessons like this? So now you have to describe your lessons. So for the lesson, what is their age range? What is their income range? How long will you service them? And how often do you want them to come back? Once you know all this, you'll know the kind of product, the kind of service, and what else you need. After this, we'll teach you a model called RFM. So the RFM model talks about how often they come back, the frequency they come back, and how much they actually spend. This is something that you can use to change the different or to identify the difference between your clients. Before that, you need to know exactly what kind of client you want to have. So you have to know what kind of people they are. Then you can try to pinpoint on this is exactly what your client is going to be like. When we're looking at client models, or for instance, we know our client will be maybe what kind of people they are. We'll try to add a 4-dimensional way to sort them. So if you're already doing that, I want you to try to analyze this. So for your clients, based on the ability and the willingness, how they can come, we'll change it to 4 quadrants. So from their willingness to spend money, so the kind of people who would like to spend a lot of money and they're able to, they're called the value. If they're very willing to spend the money, but they can't really pay as much, they're the people who will bring other people in. If they have very low interest in spending the money, but they have the ability to spend a lot of money. They're called the people who have the potential. And then there's also people who don't really have the money to spend, nor do they have the willingness to spend. Those are the ones we call the maintenance type. We'll talk about these 4 quadrants a little bit more in the future. Because basically what we're talking about these 4 types of people, they can be educated. Our best clients are the valued clients. They're very well off and they're very willing to spend the money. They come very often. The valued customers can create a lot of revenue for us, and it makes the shop very well off. But if they don't want to spend, and they don't really have the money to spend, how do we allow them to bring more client in for us? Or they really have the money to spend, but they're really not willing to come in. So how do we allow them to add to our revenue and turn them into one of our main customers? Well, maybe we need to add some incentives for them or make them more loyal. Or if they really have no interest, and we need to actually be careful with them. But because even though they're kind of cold towards us, maybe they're very interested when it comes to other people. So customers like this, you don't really want to underestimate them because they can be someone else's client who happen to be around here. They could be the competitor's loyal customers, but they came over. They just happened to come here. In some point, we happen to get the client from our competitors. But how do we turn them into our loyal customers? This is something that we need to try to do. Okay, so how do you place your service? There's a few things that we need to look at. You need 1-star products, 2 wow products, 3 products that I have as well. Aside from these 3, something that takes a lot of time, costs a lot, low profit, leave them for your competitors. So what is 1-star product? Well, basically, there's something that you're the best at. No one else can catch up to you. That is a specialty you have. So that is something that you learn, for instance, today, something Eastern that's special. You can price it a little bit higher. And you have to make sure it is a limited quantity and reservation only. You want that to be something that's a little bit harder to get a reservation of, something that's a little bit harder to get, something that's a little bit harder for someone to achieve. And you can be a little bit longer service time. In other words, it's not just whatever service out there. You have to have some sort of ceremony. And when you're trying to enjoy the service, you'll have incense burning, sandalwood, or any Eastern scents that's a little bit more special. But for the value for your VIPs, it'll be easy to reserve for them. Also, you can try to give them a VIP card for a discount. So for instance, you don't take cash for that. And these will be your star product. This is a little bit more custom and specially made service. Services like this, it can be something that's a very special thing that attracts people to come in. It'll be something that other places don't have, only we have. So for services like this, it has to be only a little bit more experienced beautician that's performing these service. When a more experienced beautician performs this service, it means that only the most respected clients get this special service. So when we provide services like this, like what I said earlier, it'll be harder to reserve. It'll take a little bit longer. And it is something that you have to use a VIP card to get this specialty. So we have to think about this. For instance, when there is a star product out there, will most people try to get a membership card because of that? Yes, because if they heard this is good and it already have a word of mouth that is something nice, well, they will think, well, I would like to try that too. So it is very important to have one-star products. We also need 2 wow products. Is it really only 2? Well, if you want 3, that's okay, but you don't want to have too many of them. When you have too many wow products, it will actually hurt yourself. Because when there's too many of them, people will think, well, it's not that special. It's just a promotion. But if you only have 2, then you can do it based on the different seasons, different time to change that product. In other words, you can change your service based on the season. So these 2 are going to be something that's a little bit cheaper than market for the service. Which means at this time, we'll do something special, which is a little bit cheaper. But there will be a little bit limit when it comes to using this. For instance, if you're a new customer, we want them, well, the main thing is we want the new customers to come in and try us out. So that would be the best case scenario. But they will have to write down their information, and then we can provide the service for them. If you're going to use this specialty, then you'll have to leave your information with us. Now, with this information, what we would like to do in the future is to use it for sales purposes. We will try to sell something more to them in the future. And then in the future, when they're using this wow service, it is something that's beneficial for them, which is also beneficial for us. So this is a win-win situation. Therefore, when we're trying to provide this wow service because it is a little bit cheaper, so we will try to avoid having it affecting our regular revenue. We will recommend that there will be a limited amount for this. You don't want to do this all day long. You want to have a limited amount for the specific service, and that will create an advantage. So if you would like to have this service, you will have to make a reservation. So for something like this, it is still a little bit rarer. You'll try to allow people to try to get this by being the early bird. Now, when people are trying to fight for this discount or this benefit, they will actually put more emphasis on this reservation so they don't end up no-showing. Now, if it is a new customer, they have to fill in their information. What about existing customers? When they come in, well, would you like to add some other service into this or like add a product along with this? Now, when they add other add-ons, it will be actually at a discounted price. So we want them to still feel like they're actually getting the advantage. So for the new customers, we want them to actually just enjoy the service. For existing customers, we would like them to actually try to get a discount on something else or some add-ons. So in that way, they will feel like, wow, that is very natural. It is a very natural type of service, and they don't feel like they're forced to spend money. So therefore, when we're using the wow products, the emphasis is we are trying to use this service to try to allow them to have a good impression of this, even though it's a little bit cheaper. Even if it is something that not very high priced, but they still have a very, very good impression through doing something like this. And that's the emphasis. So you don't want them to feel like, well, because it is a lower or discounted price, we have not as good service as well. And then we also need 3, something that, oh, we have it too. So what does it mean we have it too? Well, everyone else has it. But, well, after we calculate the cost, and everyone else has it, so we can have it too. So you have to calculate the cost. You also have to take into account the ability of the people you have. You can list something or some services that we can also offer. So this list, if it takes too long or it costs too much or it doesn't bring a lot of profit, don't worry about it. But after some calculation, if it's acceptable, we should do services like that too. And the price will be about the same as the business circle. But our product will be as good as the star product. So the most expensive service will use this product. So this service will use the exact same product. We'll use the exact same product to provide the service. So even though they're spending the same amount of money, well, they are getting better service or decent service and decent products with the same price as the market. So with this comparison, they'll start calculating the product at other places are like that. But this place seems to use better products. And this will be an easy comparison. In this way, well, you'll have a better value. So they will choose, maybe in the future, I will come here instead. And this is what we need to do, and this is what we need to promote. Because we are trying to make us different from service. We'll have the same price, but our product is better. So with the same price and better product, people will be willing to come here instead and enjoy our services. Therefore, these three, well, I have it 2 products. What you need to do is you would like to allow them to get service like this and emphasis on a few specialties. The first one will be they can come back on a regular basis and get a discount for it. For instance, when we tell them, if they're willing to come back on a regular basis or buy specific products, if you come on a regular basis, we'll give you some discount or some benefits. So coming back on a regular basis for products. The second one is, well, if you come through me again, I will give you some sort of benefit. So this way, every single employee is a very good salesperson. Because if I service you this time and you come back to me again in the future, this allows every single employee to put more attention into trying to get more people. Because this way they can choose to be picked out again next time. So you can add a bonus for your employees. The more they do, the more benefit or the more bonus they have. So which means in the future, if they have more people asking them to service them, they will have higher salaries. So if I provide great service this time and they come back to me next time, I'll have a better salary. And the reason they will come back to me again will be because, well, I've done very well this time. If I've done really well this time and they come back, they will get a discount as well. So they will get something nice out of it as well. So it is mutually beneficial for me, for the customer, and for the company. Through this, it will become a reservation for a specific service person and something free that comes with it. It could be a discount. But if you do a discount, the money will become lower and lower. So you'll try to get them something for free, a little gift or something. So you'll try to get this gift or subsidy from something else. So if you buy a product on a regular basis, you'll get a cheaper discount. If you get a specific service person, you'll get something for free. Or you'll get a cheaper price for a whole set of service. But for instance, if you try to do only facial this time, if you add your body, there'll be a special price for it. Or if you do your face and your hands and your body, there'll be another special set. If you add your feet and other stuff, then the more you have, the entire set would be, the bigger set there is, the more discount there is. So this will encourage them to do more than just one single service. They can do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of services. And in the end, they will think, well, I'm going to get this service somewhere else anyway, so I might as well get it all done here. well, since I need to do this and I need to take care of that, I need to do everything. Well, I might as well get it all done at the same place here for you. And since it's going to be cheaper anyway. Why? Well, because you have all of them, right? So through the 3 I have it too products, you will allow them to trust you. You don't have to go to somewhere else because I provide it too. I have it too. And they will never want to go to someone else again. But there's something very important you need to pay attention to. You need to make sure that you train your employee to play their part too. What does that mean? First of all, their technique has to be there. They can't come here and find out like, oh, you're actually not very good at it. Well, you have good facial service, but you're not very good at hands and feet. Then why would I come to you? The second thing is, you have to be very good at marketing. How do you talk to them? How do you make it the best? How do you say it the best way to allow your employees to persuade the customers? You have to train them on the ways they talk as well in order to get the real marketing purposes. When you didn't train your employees well enough, they'll just feel it's very annoying. I came here to relax. Why do you keep talking to me? Why are you nagging me? This is very annoying. Don't do that. So training your employees is very, very important. Okay, now that we've talked about these, we're all talking about your products and the kind of service you have. The next thing we're going to talk about is a little bit more important. How much does it cost for you to start a shop? I can't tell you the actual number or the actual amount because different countries, different places, they have different amounts of money. But I can tell you the basic ratio. So there are 3 main places at opening a new shop. Well, the first one is the rent and construction. And then the basic cost of running the shop and people's cost. And also then the brand cost and the amount of money for you to get products in. So ratio will be about 60, 20, 20. So how do you calculate this? For instance, your rent and your construction, it will be the same since the beginning. Even though we'll get more foot traffic at a busier place, but the rent will be more expensive. And when we're talking about this, for instance, here, there's a lot of people. You'll get people walking in. You'll get people walking in automatically. But a lot of times, when the amount they pay, well, we need to have at least 40 walk-ins a day in order to get our rent back. But if we are able to open a place in a little bit further out, even though you'll have a lot less crowd, there'll be a cheaper rent. Now, when the rent is cheaper, we can try to promote it some other way, and we can still get people who are willing to come over. So if it's somewhere where the rent is very cheap and we try to run some promotion, some people who would like to relax, they're willing to come over. For instance, the example I gave earlier, at a further out place, if there's a parking lot and there's a swimming pool, they will come out of their way to come here to enjoy an entire afternoon, an entire morning, or even the entire weekend. And that's not a bad thing because your rent is cheaper. This is based on what you want to spend. This is based on your choice. So the one thing we need to pay attention. Aside from the outside, the interior is very important as well. It has to be clean. It has to be neat. When customer walks in, you want them to feel like they can let go of all their worries. It can change your mood. That is the most important thing. What is it? Well, as soon as they walk in, they feel like, oh, there's a carpet and curtains. It can block the sound from the outside. It'll be completely quiet as soon as they walk in. That's a new world. If you have a nice essential oil candle, they can relax straight away as well. If you have decent air conditioning, they'll love the space. Or as soon as they walk in, they can take a shower. They can change their clothes. And especially maybe a little bit of music. Now with that, they are starting to get into a vacation mood. When you walk into a beauty salon, sometimes they just get into a space where they can change their mood, where it feels like a mini vacation. Maybe they're just getting their nails done. Maybe they're just trying to get a facial or even getting their makeup put on. But if you can give them an additional value like this, once they're relaxed, and you said, hey, would you like to do something for your body as well? They'll be said, okay. Would you like to do this and that? Okay. You can never tell. So the main thing is, as soon as they're relaxed, they will think of coming here more often. If they're not relaxed, if they're tensed, then they want to come to you straight away. That's it. So your rent and construction or interior decoration, it is to create an atmosphere like this. It is for when they want to look for somewhere to go, they want to go to your place. So, if we are going to try to create a good beauty salon, well, maybe I don't really need a large space. All I need is something that's based on reservation. I'll have an independent space, and every single time I will only take 2 to 3 customers, and it has to be reservation only to allow people in. And allow them for when they come here, they can relax. They can get into a completely different world. And allow them to make sure they don't see other customers. And when they come here, they feel like they have stepped into paradise. This is also a very good thought. Okay, so when we're thinking, what else do we need? What other costs do we need? Well, it costs to run the shop, and it also costs, people also cost money. This is going to be a cost that is going to be a long-term, and it should be about the same. So running the shop will be a basic cost as well. Well, the cost on people, it can be different though. So if you change their salary, it will be based on their job level and their ability and their performance. They will get a different salary every single month. So therefore, their salary may not be the same. We can change that into a changing salary, but the cost to run the shop, it is something that you will have long term. You have to have at least 6 months of reserve, 6 months. Because every time you hire someone, when you train someone, it is very difficult. Once you finally hire someone, you have to keep them. You have to actually keep them and try to keep them. Well, if this month you didn't create as much revenue, well, if you let them go, then you'll feel really bad because maybe next month you have a lot of revenue. You couldn't find someone this good to help you out. When you have someone new, it could take you a lot of time to get to the same part that the other person was at. You could have possibly wasted 3 or 4 months by the time they got up to speed as the other person. So make sure you have at least 6 months of money to make sure you can keep your manpower. So in general, the cost on your people, it would be about the same. And you'll have to have money set aside for it. Now, aside from the owner, you need to have some sort of management. With management, it could be the head of the shop, or if you're the boss and you're not in the shop all the time, then you need someone there to manage it. If you're willing to stay in the shop, that's great too. But because, well, maybe you have something else you have to be busy on. It's impossible for you to be able to pay attention to everything. So you might need a secretary or an assistant. The assistant will help you remember all those things that might happen. You need to pay attention. It's impossible for you to remember everything on your own. You need someone there to help you take care of all the other minuscule things. With someone taking care of those, it'll help you do something else better. Don't think you can do everything by yourself without any problem, especially when it comes to professional part. If your specialty is beauty, maybe a lot of times there are things that office-wise you're not very good at. Spend a little time and money to hire someone to do that. And that's the only way you can make your company run well. Sometimes I have some bosses. They started as beauticians. They have 20 years of experience solid. So they know all the situations a beautician can possibly face. But sometimes in order to grow, they want to open up their business mode. They have to go out and go to a lot of meetings. And then he'll run into something, for instance, when he's not in the shop. Every time he's not in the shop, the revenue goes down. Every time something happens, his employees cannot handle anything for him. Even some VIP clients, they will, for instance, when they have VIP clients, they only want them to service them. So under these circumstances, they can't leave for too long. Or their VIP client will say, well, I'll wait until you come back then. And this is not a good team. Therefore, under these circumstances, what they need is to train someone who's an assistant. Or the best way would be if they can train someone that can completely take care or replace her. I hope you don't run into the same situation. Because by the time you're strong enough and you have a big enough shop and you realize something like this is happening, it's too late. Instead of trying to do this at that time, you might as well start it right now and start to have and try to build the second you. You have to give them some power. You may need a secretary. Everything you do, you'll allow her to help him or her to help you. They may be trying to handle communicating with the clients, or they might have to do specific tasks for you, or they may be doing the consulting for you. They'll learn how you do the consulting, and then please make sure, write it down. Make it into a standard operations procedure. Write it into a standard operation procedure in a book, into an employee book. The good thing about that is, if a situation happens, you don't know what the situation is. Well, then under this situation, you do this or that way, or under that situation, you'll go this way, and this way. Every situation have a specific way of handling it. So therefore, the first person, if they run into the situation, they'll open the handbook and they'll know exactly what they have to do. They may have 3 or 4 different solutions, and there will be, with these solutions, how do they face it? They'll know exactly how to handle it. And then there will be a second person, a third person who will know what to do. Don't worry about this going out somewhere. Because if the second person who have been learning for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, they should know this by now. But if they're your loyal employee, they will know if the boss couldn't do this, then the shop is closed. There's no way they can make money either. So they will know they have to do this very well. Once they learn well, they might go and open their own shops. Well, that's possible. But if you actually help people grow, it wouldn't be someone else's shop. They will try to open another shop within your own shop. They will try to open a second shop for you or even a third shop for you. Wouldn't this be better? There's still your people. There's still shops under you. Don't worry about that. They are still your people. They are still in your system. They are still your company. Okay. So please pay attention. Don't put all the power on yourself and yourself only. Don't think you can do everything by yourself. Please make sure, for everything you should establish a standard operation procedure handbook. Once you have that handbook, management is very important. The management handbook is very important as well. Even though we're talking about cost right now, please make sure that when we're hiring someone, it's not just beauticians are important. We also need a management, someone who will do management. Maybe they're head of the store. Maybe they'll be your secretary. These are the people that you have to pay emphasis to. The head of the shop can be a beautician or vice versa, but your secretary should best be your secretary and your secretary only. Now, when your store manager is your experienced beautician, they have to make sure they are a beautician when they're supposed to be a beautician. When they're a shop manager, they have to be a shop manager. So, for instance, in the morning meeting, they have to make sure they separate the tasks separately. Now, one thing you have to pay attention to, when they are the store manager, within the organization, for instance, they'll have a bonus. They have to be able to make sure that they are fair. The way they put tasks out, they have to make sure they're not giving anyone any favors. So they need to make sure all the tasks are very clear. Now, if the boss's secretary is also the management, you have to make sure you give them enough power. Don't make them feel like they're just someone who's not important. Like maybe don't make sure they're just like there to, buy everyone snacks and something. So therefore, because we're talking about cost right now, we're talking about funds. So if we're talking about beauticians, you can be a basic salary and a service bonus. So with this, you can lower your average cost and it can encourage them to have better work process. So there will be three parts. So there'll be basic salary, your job salary, and also your service bonus charge. So it may be different every month, but it'll give them more incentive. And make sure you have 3 months of promotional funds that is put aside, because sometimes you may need to put extra promotion in, and you can't do just a short promotion. You may have a long promotion. So you have to make sure you have 3 months of promotional funds set aside. And especially when you're slow, you need more promotion. So having 3 months of promotional funds set aside is very important. Another thing we need to do, from the rent, from running the shop, and the next thing is your branding fee and the money you spend on bringing products in. The importance of this is because a lot of our money, our basic revenue creator, it comes from things we sell. When we have these products, then we can generate the revenue and the service. So therefore, if we're trying to sell these products, the best way is to sell it high and bring it at a low cost. So if you can bring it at a low cost and sell at a high price, that would be ideal. Now, most beauty services, for instance, in Taiwan, my clients said, well, most of the time, every $100 sales, we make about $30 in profit. So basically, it's about 30% profit. That's a basic idea. Sometimes the cost is only 10%. So when it's 10%, if you want to sell it this high of a price, of course, there are something we want to do, and we want to get the price lower. There are a few ways. The first thing is to try to get your products from bigger brands. It's the easiest way to do. We'll go to a larger brand and we'll tell them these are the products we need. And they'll give us some resources, some products, and even all kinds of promotional bottles, everything. This will be the easiest way to get your products in. Even though this is the easiest way, well, there's a problem. Because they planned everything for us, well, sometimes the cost is higher, so we will have a lower profit. So a lot of times when we do that, we can't save money. Also, you can try and have a patience to try to look for equipment, products. If we go to the bigger brands, well, some of them, they try to look for smaller companies to buy products, and then they repackage it and turn it into their own. If we're trying to look for those smaller companies, of course, but you'll have to know where they are and how to promote them. You might have to make it better, and you have to change it into your own. So you need to find where they are, and you have to find something that you can also use. And then you can create something that you can use for yourself. This would actually take quite a bit of time. Is it really necessary? Well, let me give you an example. If this takes you a month, you'll have to take $200,000, even $100,000 less a month. And compared to when you order from a bigger brand, and it costs you $10,000 more. It's $10,000 more to order from the bigger brand, even though it's different. Even there, between paying $10,000 more or getting $100,000 less a month, which one is actually more worthwhile? It is up to you. Based on if it's Japanese people, well, we are willing to look for the best for us. I want to look for something I like. For Japanese people, they're willing to do that. We are specialties. We need to look for something that is for us and us only. So I would rather spend the time and look for what they want exactly. And this is Japanese people. But if you don't have a lot of time and you are starting to pay rent and the interiors are all done, is it really necessary for us to look for other shops? Or you already have a shop already, you're just trying to find something that maybe will add some more points for you. Then you can take your time to look for it. Or you're looking for something that you don't need straight away, but you might need sometime in the future. You can definitely take your time looking for those. Of course, there's another way to do this. You can look for someone who is already in the business and cooperate with them. Maybe not the same place. You can look for someone who is in the same business from a different place, and then you can work together and find a company to talk about the price. Try to make the cost lower, and you can bring the products in together, and maybe you'll be able to save a little money in there. This way, well, maybe you can try to get a cheaper price. Okay. So now, starting from the entire business circle, we're talking about where we're standing. We've already looked for a service that might be a little bit better. From the better service, then we can find a better way to service. And now, we'll have to look for what can we do to try to cut cost-wise. So we now know that we'll start from where we want to stand for our service to try to get products in to avoid waste. So don't think that you have a big heart and you want to think big. Well, I want to open a great company, but it doesn't fit me. And then I have a lot of cost and I spend a lot of time for a lot of products. It's great. It costs a lot. They're very elegant. I started a beauty salon. I love it, but no one's coming. Then that is doomed to fail. Or maybe I'm at a very, very far out place. But in the end, I have a lot of customers. With the amount of customers I have, I'm still not making enough money to pay rent. So we need to know exactly where you're standing in the market to bring products in to avoid waste and to ensure that you will get the profit you're supposed to get. Because it's very important when you're doing beauty, you are using a product on the client. They will feel directly, even though they're eating it. Well, when they're eating it, it'll come out. They'll know straight away if there's any problem. But they're putting it on their body. So once they put it on their body, maybe they will get hurt straight away. Maybe they go home and their husband will say like, oh, you're getting uglier, or you got a bad haircut, or bad fingernail, bad makeup. It's something they can see straight away. It'll affect them for an extended period of time. So what they put an emphasis on, what's important to them is quality, quality, quality. It's quality that they're looking for. So for a beautician and in the beauty industry, you want the customer to walk into your shop to feel warm, safe, trustworthy, and even feel like they're being pampered like a baby. And they'll definitely want to come back. And then your business has succeeded. And that will be our lesson for today.